Yes, this is the maximum I can go tonight. I think we got good light, sort of. Nice. For anyone that is on, give me a second. Have it? No, no. Let me know when you have. Sorry, people. For anyone who's interested in tonight's show, we were a little bit delayed with the Instagram sign because Instagram is in a different device and we are trying to fix it. In the meantime, welcome to anyone who's really interested in watching every Friday for now the live sessions of the Speak Up Club. Understanding that we have every other week session that is called the Q&A. Not this week, it's gonna be the following one. We do this as a service to any one of our followers and obviously other people interested in finding out what is it that we do. And as we know, YouTube is such a great tool for us to share knowledge for free. And as it is for free, we have to use it. It's terrible if we don't, right? Okay, and now we're live in YouTube as well. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, guys. So as I was saying, eh, when we have access to a platform that allow us to communicate with so many different people at the same time, the possibilities are endless. Yeah, in general, and we see. Hello, Alfredo. How's it going, Alfredo? Oh, good. Is it Gamaliel? Maybe I don't know. What's up? So the possibilities are endless, especially if you trade in the area where we trade, we A-létheia, which is education, and we love it. We love the capacity that uh, they give us to use the tools at hand. We have invested quite a lot. Hello, Gamaliel. We have invested quite a lot comparing to what I don't know what a regular person would do with just a computer device, but not as much as I don't know. Let's say, hello, is this Mr. Espinosa, right? I think. Confirm, please. So yeah, so compared to again, as I was mentioning, compared to what you would spend in a regular computer, we have spent a little bit more, but not as much as let's say huge professional studios that have a lot of videos constantly online and high production. And we all know that that's an incredible trait that YouTube allow you to use, right? We have to take advantage of it and be smart how to use the tools that we have at our disposal. Now, going on to tonight's topic, Mr. Espinosa, really big hug to you. I hope that you enjoyed the tonight's topic, right? Tonight's topic is called, nice, nice. Tonight's topic is called the banality of judging perversion. Believe it or not, this is a topic that was brought up by students of my school. You know, I'm a school teacher, so of course I get to see incredible, incredible, amazing minds every day in different moments of their growing experience of their moods and we get sometimes the best encounters and sometimes there are uncomfortable ones. But at the end, I love teaching. I love the fact that I'm capable of getting to know so much just by seeing all these people, all these little people doing so much. It's incredible. It's actually the best thing that you have working as a teacher. The fact that you see how your students grow in experience and capability, and how if they manage to put in practice stuff that you have taught them, that's the best. Oh, Mr. Amish. I hope you enjoyed the show, sir. Hi. All right, guys. So, again, tonight, the banality of perversion. Well, going back on the title itself, the question came out to, typically the students being curious of an implication of something totally different, and there came to be, the idea of what means what is a pervert, what means to be a pervert, and then one student called another student a pervert, and I realized, well, I think I need to speak about this because this is so common, so common that we have in our cultures, and I'm just not speaking about my own. As you all know, I'm not Ecuadorian, I'm Venezuelan, but I work in Ecuador, and I have the experience of seeing people growing up, having all these different experiences in the process of growing, and comparing to what I lived when I grew up in a different country and then in Venezuela, and my own experience academically and with life in general. And I can see that every human is pretty much the same, and at the same time, every human is so different, and we all deserve the type of respect that a particular individual is supposed to have. The problem is sometimes we don't have the good luck, right? We don't. We're not surrounded by the best people. We're not surrounded. We're not at the best location, and those are the moments in which we all know about people that for some reason somehow became victims, and that's terrible. That's terrible. We must be grateful with life that we're lucky to be alive and to have survived whatever situation, crisis have left us until this moment. On the topic and perversion, according to dictionaries, I mean, if you just simply Google it, like everybody does. Perversion literally means to just simply try to change the original intention of something. Okay, so if I say white, the color white was originally referred to simply just an adjective of the pigmentation. A perversion means use the color white to refer to the culture, a particular type of culture, human culture, that physically speaking would be referred to as the Caucasian people. And conveniently, apparently, the only Caucasian people are Americans. I don't understand that. They say that also a little bit more in Canada and parts of Europe. In reality, they just believe that it's, in America. I don't know. People with their beliefs. Anyway, when we're speaking about perversion, that action of changing the course of the intention of something is normally attributed to people's sexual tendencies. And as we all know, we are coming from a time in which sexuality was repressed everywhere. But at the same time, it kind of flew freely all around us in ways that somehow happened. In the 80s, apparently was so huge the situation that it helped spreading a huge terrible disease that was firstly sexually transmitted, and we're speaking about HIV, that developed AIDS, and lots of people actually died because of this. You know, speaking about the people that did not have the fortune, right? And we all know that time made society change on the conceptions of paradigms of morality and what society was, supposed to accept and supposed to deny or supposed to simply just reject, etc., etc. But society is not a big monster that we see from a mountain, like lurking on a valley and scaring everyone on its path. That's not society. Society is basically the biggest thing of the small cell that we all are part of. And what I mean by this, I'm speaking about communities. And you all know what I mean by communities. Everyone belongs to a community. You guys belong to a community. I belong to many different communities. You have communities from the places of where you work, your school friends, schoolmates, um, places where you hang out. If you train at a place, like I used to train with Mr. Amish, then that is a community too. Depending on the place, you're really, really united to your community. There are other places you're mostly kind of like made to be part of, like your neighborhood. You can't change that. Uh, you are part of your neighborhood. You have to count yourself among them. Then you got the community of your family. That's a really specific micro cell of society that we all know is responsible of firstly forming our personalities, and then determining the mass of what we do in our lives, because you know depending on who your parents are, uh, siblings, everywhere else, everyone else that was involved in your upbringing, your personality is gonna be, and your life will be directed towards, right? Unless there is a huge intervention, you're pretty much determined to be in one way or another, depending on your family. So important that we all consider where we come from, understanding that many different things that we are. And what I mean by we are is how we see things, not the way we say that we are. You know, we mentioned Zizek in the description for a reason, understanding how much Mr. Zizek refers to that a lot of our society fails into trying to convince themselves that we are a type of person. Like, we believe a narrative that is just an imagining projection of maybe what our family wanted us to be. If our family wanted us to be good, religious, conservative people, we think that we are such people, and we sometimes buy into the narrative, and we adopt certain type of routines. But sometimes we don't behave 100% as we claim regarding what our family said. But then again, we do. I rather put myself more on the Hegelian side. That is all that dialectic. We go back and forth between being and not being, because everything is time. There are moments in which you're conservative, and there are moments in which you're more liberal, depending on what situation you're living in your lives. Teens, and most of my audience are teens, um, are living a life that goes so fast and so slow at the same time. So fast because you guys have the peak of your senses really high, geared to the maximum performance. You have the best eyesight, the best sensing of touch, the best way to regulate your temperature, etc., etc. Right? However, life goes so slowly because you're not independent at all, even though you have big bodies. You're not really independent. You don't make your own money in most of the cases. You cannot take decisions about your life on your own completely. So even though you have a lot of desire, there is a lot of frustration too, because if you cannot really accomplish any of what those things that you want, then there's a lot of that stalling, waiting, and waiting. So that's the teenage time, and that's the reason why the moods that sometimes you get to be so angry sometimes, and you don't understand why. Well, now you know. Motivated to this. Going back to the topic, when we speak about perversion in these groups, we know that it is that thing that is normally pointed out, like, as some sort of, let's say, branding, as when we shun people away from us, when we signal these people out of a group by saying that these people are too strange, their particularities do not match with what the group wants. Apparently, we all know that many times this happens because of social biases. Your friends will not normally be seen as the strange ones. The ones that are strange ones are typically the ones that are alone. Like that song from the Doors. People are strange when you're a stranger. You know, things look ugly when you're alone. That happens. The lonely guy is that one that tends to be also the scary one. All the gossip surrounding that person is normally a negative one, until that person becomes, the friends of someone, and that person opens up. Your high school life becomes the best the moment that you actually make friends. When you don't make friends, Mr. Alejandro, thank you, sir, for being with us tonight. All right, let's continue speaking on the topic. So, the moment you make friends in high school, your high school suddenly becomes a total different experience. But if you never really make friends, your high school is more like a burden than good time. Mr. Gerson, welcome, welcome. Thank you. Hopefully you're gonna enjoy the session tonight. Anyways, going back to the idea of perversion, being shunned in high school is terrible. Being pointed out as, oh, that kid, the kid that has, I don't know, ugly hair, or the kid that doesn't know how to shower well, the kid that stinks, and there is the kid that is signaled out as the pervert. However, that kid that is signaled out as the pervert sometimes is really mad because he knows that the others do exactly the same thing that he does. And what is what every kid do in that age? When you're full of hormones, and I had to explain that today. You are full of hormones, and then you see stuff, your body is going to react. And what I mean by see stuff is you get completely and constantly stimulated by images that, as you are being used to be stimulated since you are a kid with images all your lives. If you are my age, you probably grew up with a TV as well. Images will pop up everywhere, and images will catch your attention, and images all around us will normally give us a message that is not necessarily the best message. It's just simply a message that's there. In the 80s, most of marketing was surrounding a beautiful half naked model. So of course, what type of images would a kid my age in that time have when going to the beach, or when, let's say, if had to study at a place that, you know lower temperatures, smaller clothes, you know what I mean? Kids At that age, we'll always react according to what the disposition of conditions will be in both genders. We're not speaking about just a male behavior just to consider this is some sort of toxic masculinity. It's a topic that was already discussed in this channel. We're not referring to that. We're referring to regular reaction that tend to be pointed out, put to shame by others when you are not really fond of the majority, or at least, I don't know, when they don't recognize you. And that's awful when you don't have that chance. But going back on perversion, there's this other different thing about what means being a pervert, because as this is a form in which you can be shunned by your friends, they can, say, no, you're not our friend anymore because you're a pervert. If this is a way in which this happens, let's think back a little bit on the condition of being branded a pervert. Pervert, as the definition goes that we read before in Google, ready to Google, is simply, what was intended to be twisted, right? Turned to the other side, apparently. But what is intended to be? What is what you are intended to be? If you're a human being, you're supposed to act as a human being. Now, when we're speaking about desire, if that's the case, if we're speaking about the awakening of sexual desire that happens exactly in that age, the age of being a teenager, because of hormones, because of conditions, saying that you feel attracted to a person is not really the cause for you to be branded pervert. No, and you cannot really blame yourself and take that shame upon yourself for that comment. However, it is a toxic behavior that has existed for years. And again, it has been a way in which people bully each other throughout society, years after years after years, simply because there were certain things that stuck on with time and other things that needed to change. The ones that couldn't change was because obviously there was a huge resistance. The more resistance, the more shame. Such is the history that we know of. Let's say homosexualism, as homosexualism is better seen today than it was back in the 80s. Making that example. In the 80s, it was terrible when a person was branded being homosexual. Today, shouldn't be a problem, though sometimes the media uses that branding a little too much, that becomes overbearing in the public discourse when sexuality does not really count so much in the public discourse. So of course, as there is too much information of sexual identity today, the idea of sexuality, expressed sexuality, becomes toxic too. Anyone who says or expresses what they're attracted to, what they feel, where they find appealing, where they find beauty, is possibly seen as the weirdo, because it falls onto the idea of politically incorrect. Why? Why do we have to, again, I have to repeat myself from last week, why do we have to so much look for ways to make our lives miserable? Really, honestly, as humanity, I have to ask that question. Why is it that we need to complicate our lives so much? That tendency of looking for shame, like every time that you watch yourself in the mirror, you see everything, but you only stare at that particular part that you're not fond of. I don't know. Make it your nose, make it a dimple, make it a the strange configuration of your eyes, whatever. I remember as a kid, I did this sometimes. As normally as a kid, you have a lot of free time on your own. I wanted to see the real color of my iris, but I couldn't really see my real color, the real color of my iris, because I don't know if you noticed, but if you get closer to a mirror, if you approach your face closer to a mirror, the closer that you look, the more you understand that it's impossible to fix your eyesight to just one side. And you're constantly shifting from one side to the other. And as you do that, you get um, dizzy and you cannot really see. So you have to go backwards. And when you go backwards, particularly my eyesight, as a kid, I couldn't really see the color. I saw something related to black, but maybe it could have been purple. So I was so confused. I said, I cannot really have purple eyes. My grandma, on the other hand, was growing cataratas. What's the name for that? I forgot about that. And the typical glaucomatic disease that starts eating your eyes from the inside. So of course there is this bluish ring around your iris, and that's what she had. So I started thinking, as I was a really small kid, that maybe I had the same. Weird. But anyway, we stare at things that we don't feel comfortable with, and we feel shame. We don't want that. We want to change it. And we're fixated on perfection that is totally external to us. We look at the models, obviously, that we have. Everyone that works as a model is obviously an ideal of how you're supposed to look. And it's terrible that those models that we use in the past were extremely, let's say, particular in their ways, in which there was only just that model. Like every man was supposed to look just one way, and most girls were supposed to look the other way. And that's an important thing, that you understand the difference between every man, most girls, because there have always been more models for women in that sense as opposed to men, since men was at that time they were supposed to look only manly. So again, it was only one type of man. I'm speaking about the general way we speak about appearances, right? Then today we see that things have relaxed a little. You can see that if you go to any office, sometimes there are men that are, rocking a beard, right? Others are hairless. Some even have long hair. In the past, there was only just one way, the manly way. Women also have learned to be more comfortable around men, because men have been branded as perverts in potential position, and always have to be looked at and say like, hey, we're looking at you, careful, hands up. It's true, but it's necessary. It was necessary. There was a time in which women were terribly victimized by men. Although the same argument could be said that humanity was awfully victimized by men. Humanity, because men were victimized by men too. And there's no other gender. There's man, there's a woman. Who else victimized who? You know? So obviously, there was a time in which this situation happened. Now, as the potential victimary is signaled out, is pointed out, is under observation, uh, the behavior have been promoted on an idea of safeness and peace. However, there is this situation that is remnant in the air that is related to the symbolic experience that many people have to go through as language makes it really strong, the way in which we render meaning towards certain type of things, like again that an example, a person who has been accused of any type of sexual offense has it way harder to get a job than a person that probably robbed stuff, was involved in drugs. I don't know about, killing because I haven't read about this. I will lie if I tell you. But again, if you have a criminal record that establishes the fact that you have a situation, any type of situation related to sexual offense, it's awful. We take it really to the heart, the idea of other people's particularities when it comes to sexuality. And I think that in the past was really heavy. People were so judgmental that they drew others to awful lives, sometimes even to end their lives. There were times in which, for example, speaking about being gay, in certain places, the people that had this condition, what I mean by had this condition, I'm saying that it's weird. I'm saying that it's normal to be gay because that's normal to be human. Again, it's humanity. Well, at that time, people that felt like this felt so miserable that they committed suicide. That's one of the reasons why they committed suicide. This still happens though. People that are single can also commit suicide too for the same reason, simply just because they don't find anyone. But we tend to, put the words on one idea more than the other because it fits a narrative too. When I mean perversion, perversion, according to Zizek, is all about using the concepts with that twist that you want to give it. And as every ideology is totally valid today, you can put whatever meaning, push, ideologic interest you want in that thing that you want to say. And that doesn't necessarily makes it a really cool thing to do. At the very end, it all depends who your friends are. If you call someone pervert, you really want to destroy that person. That can fire back at you if obviously you are caught as a person that is faking. Because again, it's a foul move. People should not really use that card that easily. And at the same time, when being called a pervert, people need to consider that everyone is weird. Sexuality is weird. Sexuality is, until now, an incredible world of secrets. We're still digging. There's a lot of information going on. There's a lot of uh, assumptions that sometimes even make it to the law. And we have to be careful with that because these assumptions are not 100% true, not supposed to be, because we are still evolving in this matter. So, because of this, we need to consider the fact that What in the past used to be considered awful, now it's not. Again, gays in the past were seen as perverts. Today, they are decent people, like it should be, because again, we are all people. But what if you like other stuff that is not the normal stuff? Well, what kind of stuff can actually make you pervert today? I mean, as long as you don't harm any other person, there should not be that way or conception or framing to who you are. But careful, because that's the thing. Because if we only use the argument of consent, that could affect situations that we all know today about love between people of extreme different ages. We have to be perverts when it comes to analyzing reality. We cannot really get reality by the literalness of the words, you know, that define reality. Yes, yes, yes. We can say, oh, of course. If we are all accepting the different forms of being, then everyone should be free. Really? Do whatever you want? Really? Is that true? Can we really be so accepting as, for example, allowing loving animals to have their ways with loving pet owners, for instance, just to say that? Just because we say that they are not hurting anyone, we cannot really say they're not doing wrong, because we all know that there is something uh, irresponsible of using, in this case, animals for such behavior. And most perverted behavior when it comes to dealing with other individuals can be considered as perverted simply just because of that. Because there is something that goes beyond the particularity of the pleasure of the people involved in whichever act of perversion. I'm not just simply saying sexual. I'm still leaving it really wide. Okay, judging something as perversion requires us to really understand what it means being ethically correct in that particular situation. So don't be quick to do so, because it's not so easy. It requires a pervert to judge a pervert. I remember that comment that another teacher once told me about, pointing out. When you point out, you do that with your hand, right? You do it like this. There is one finger pointing out at whomever you're judging, but the others are pointing at you. Karma, if we consider it that way. There is something about that word that I love about. I love a lot. And it resonates with me because it makes me understand that, such as gravity, our behavior has repercussion. Whatever goes up needs to go down. Whatever motion you produce is going to have its repercussions, and you're going to have to live them. So, why wasting part of your living conditions, whichever they are, improving them or actually making them deteriorate, on the judging part? Judging requires a lot. It requires a lot of self assertion. self-criticism too. Don't judge if you're not gonna be honest. Be honest with yourself. Judge first yourself. And then when you find yourself in that position in which you're not a pervert, then call out whomever you consider being a pervert. And that's it. People, thank you for allowing us to ramble a lot on these ideas. It's an exercise that is really helpful for myself, my producer, and the house of A-létheia. And we are interested in you guys joining us, making comments, um, going on, let's say, opening the possibilities of a discussion regarding some of the topics that we bring every fortnight. Yeah, that's the way that we're working until we make changes. For now, we always say this because there is the possibility of a schedule change. And as we are offering the Speak Up Lab, the service, the first product that we have, Aditya have available for everyone that watches, whomever wants to practice their English. If you were capable of following us in this during throughout the whole conversation, rambling. If you did that and you want to be capable of doing the same. I'm a student myself. I'm learning. So if you want to do that, you want to be capable of develop your own a great fluency, vocabulary, and how to apply concepts, etc., etc., etc. If you really want to grow on your English level, come join us here at the Speak Up Club. We got the Speak Up Club. We also have modules. Right now, we're working with teens, kids, and grammar. Also, we have the seminars. We got a webinar based on derivations for specifically addressing this such an important grammar issue that weighs on everything that you do in speaking and learning how to use the language in the proper way. We got the Speak Up Club Wednesdays, Saturdays. Again, depending on the quantity of people interested, we have other options, and we have ways for you to contact us here in YouTube, obviously, in Instagram and in Facebook. People, thank you for being with us. Thank you, Alfredo, Amish, Alejandro, Gerson, Mr. Espinosa, and I think there were other two. Thank you, people. Well, wow, live here. Yes. Please help me with this one, and I'm gonna edit this one. Yes. Bye bye, people.